Hey, it's me again. It's Saad again. 10. Actually, now I'm 11 years old. Yep. Yeah, so today I was thinking, what should I make? Because there are lots of things to make about that are pretty fun. But the one thing in particular came to my mind. And I thought I'd talk about you this time. And you might be thinking, me? And I'm like, no, not just you. Every single cell of you. And I'll go into detail about what is resting potential. And this is just preview for another video I'll make soon. Well, let's jump inside your cells on a tour throughout the body. So you might be thinking, okay, what is resting potential? And as I'll make a video later on, or maybe I'll just describe that in the next video, what are neurons and how do neurons work, about action potential. I won't do that right now. What is resting potential? Is that all the potential you have when you're resting? Wrong. It is, well, partially, yes. Well, your cells, they're usually resting. Now, let's just talk about neurons. Neurons are cells in the brain, not just in the brain, but they go all out throughout your body. And, well, I said brain and spinal cord. I hope you know what a spinal cord is. It's kind of, you have two main brains. One of them's in your spine. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yeah, let me just give you an example of spinal cord. Let's say you step, or let me give you a home example. Have you ever touched a hot pan and you pulled your finger back before it even burnt? Yeah, that's because, well, let's say you put your finger on, your finger senses hot, hot, hot. So it sends a signal to the nervous system, this is really hot. Not the nervous system. The spinal cord, this is really hot. The spinal cord, and it sends a message of pain to the brain at the same time. Now, the spinal cord is closer than the brain, so it receives the message first. So you pull it before, because the spinal cord tells the finger to pull. So you pull it before you even feel the pain. Anyways, that was I sidetracked. Let's talk about neurons. Neurons are actually the tiny cells that transmit the order to pull. Yeah. So in fact, there's a massive link of so many neurons called the nervous system. No, it's not getting activated when you're nervous. It's just called the nervous system because it's made of nerves or neurons. Yeah. All right. Again, a sidetrack. So neurons actually work because they transmit electricity signals throughout the body. Like, let's say this is one neuron, this is the other neuron. The brain tells this neuron we have to pull a muscle that's all the way that way. So it sends an electric signal over here. This neuron ends, it passes it on to the next neuron, and it goes on. But how does that happen? I'll explain that in the next video. Right now, we're going to talk about resting potential, which is also important. By the way, this applies in other cells too, but neurons are the best example because we're about to talk about them. Haha. So, let's say resting potential is the current, you could say the charge a cell has when it is at rest, so it's not moving. And in the neutron's case, when there's no electric signal passing through, that's the potential or current it has, the electric charge it has, is called the resting potential. Usually in most cells, like muscle cells or stuff, the resting potential is a negative charge. Now, to explain this, I'm going to have to start drawing. Okay, so let's start. Now, let me draw just the wall of a cell. This is the membrane, actually. Animal cells don't have walls. I'm leaving these gaps for a reason. I'll tell you later on. Now, let me just draw two just for fun. I'm kidding, not just for fun. Anyways, because this is actually how animal cells look like, but not exactly this. They actually are made of that. I'll just draw, just so that you're not fooled. I'll just draw how the animal cell membrane actually looks. This is how animal and human cells look like. Okay, this is how it actually looks. There are two layers, you see. Anyways, getting back to this. Now this is the extracellular side. Okay, now you might be thinking, what are cellular? Extracellular just means outside the cell. Outside, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it doesn't mean extra cells, it means outside the cell. So this is inside the cell, this is outside the cell. Okay, so now let's say I'm going to be focusing on two main ions mean atoms with, like, I mean, I've made, like, I think 2 videos on atoms. Let's say this is helium. Helium has two protons. Actually, I'll draw it better here, a bigger one. 2 protons, and two neutrons. I almost said neurons. And 2 electrons. This is what helium looks like, okay? Now, a helium ion can be of 2 types, a positively charged ion or a negatively charged ion. A positively charged is, now electrons are negatively charged, right? They're negatively charged. So let's say helium suddenly loses one of its electrons, maybe in an ionic bond, maybe in an ionic bond, let's pretend. Now it only has 1 electron left, so it's a little bit less negative than before. Less negative is actually 2 negatives, so that'll become a positive. Yeah, so now it'll be positively charged. But let's say it never lost this. That would, with 1 electron, this would be a positively charged ion. But let's say it never lost this electron. In fact, it got another electron, and that is also negatively charged. Now it's more negative, so that would be a negatively charged ion. Okay, so any ions, and I'll tell you whether I'll focus on 2 ions. I'll be a positive sodium ion. Actually, I'll go with the periodic table. It's a positive sodium ion. This is Na is sodium symbol, and a positive potassium ion. I hope I'm doing the symbols right. Anyways, yeah, I'm pretty sure I do the symbols right. Yes. So these 2 are going to be, I'm going to be focusing on them. And then there's another, like a protein or a, alright. Then let's say there's this. Oopsie, I drew it a little bit wrong. But there's a channel. Now these would like to go between the extracellular and inside the cell. They would like to fluctuate between them. They like to pass through. But they can't go through the membrane very easily. These 2 in particular. So they can be pumps or channels, which are actually proteins that they can go through. Let's say this is, alright, now, actually, let's get rid of this. Now, I'll draw a pump. Let's say it looks like this. Now, there is 3, now, let's say this is not exactly how it looks like. But let's say potassium looks like, or no, sodium looks like this, and potassium looks like this. This is supposed to be round. Anyways, so it's open to the intracellular side. This is what it calls. intracellular. Anyways, it's open to the intracellular side. Then let's say there are 3 sodium atoms here that come and they bond. And why am I drawing so badly? They come and fit onto this, and then the pump uses ATP and becomes phosphorylated hardwood. But when ATP binds onto this pump, it switches shape, and then it faces upwards. Let's draw another one. It faces out, and then the 3 sodium atoms are released outside. Then there's spaces for 2 potassium ions. Let's say these 2 potassium ions came and fit over here. Then the ATP is released. It becomes dephosphorylated hardwood, and then it comes back here, and the potassium ions are released inside. So basically, potassium is being forced outside and sodium is being forced inside. Now remember, 3 sodium atoms are going out, positive sodium. Let's just focus on positive and negative. Positive sodium ions, for every negative 3 sodium atoms, for every, let's say, because 3 positives are being released, so it's giving a charge of -3, but then 2 positive are coming down, so that would become -1. So it's losing a charge inside. That's why I told you, right? The resting potential, it has less charge inside. Yeah, so that's why, because less less positively charged ions are coming in than positively charged ions that are going out. But it's not just this. What about the channels? So let's say potassium is this size, but sodium is this size. Now you have to know that these, because since sodium is being moved outside, there's lots of sodium outside. But since potassium is coming inside, there's lots of potassium inside. Now this means the potassium is getting really crowded, so it wants to go there through diffusion. I'll make a video on that. And sodium is very crowded here, so it wants to come here. Now potassium is lucky, because let's say there's potassium here. Okay, potassium can find a potassium leakage channel or a channel. It can go through that and it can come over here and be free. That's where it wants to go. But sodium can't come the other way, because if sodium tries to come through, it'll get stuck. There are more channels for potassium than sodium, but they do exist where sodium can come through. Whoopsie. Okay. But if you look at it, potassium, positively charged ions are leaving even more, and no positive can come in. This is making an even more negative charge inside. Now, let's say this is 0 charge. Now, I'm talking about inside the cell. There is -33 charge and -50 charge here. This is -33 and this is -50. Now, I'll be talking about this more in the next video, but usually the intracellular side has a charge of about this much, so -50. Okay, this is pretty much about the resting potential. Oh great, I forgot to add the title, resting potential. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.